to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. This is a show where we cast our gaze across the spectrum of culture, current affairs and politics, doing our best to bring a bit of common sense to that which has become senseless. And we're going to kick things off, as we mean to go on, with a landmark employment tribunal ruling that has found Islam-critical views can qualify as a protected belief under the Equality Act. The case centres on actuary Patrick Lee, who has sanctioned by the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries over posts on X criticising aspects of Islamic doctrine. Judge David Khan ruled that Lee's belief that certain Islamic teachings can be subject to robust criticism meets the threshold for legal protection. A full hearing in February will decide whether Lee's tweets were an appropriate expression of that belief. Here is what Labour MP Barry Gardiner had to say earlier this week on GB News during a debate with the head of policy for Reform UK, Zia Youssef.
That actually we've moved away from the definition of Islamophobia was precisely because we didn't want to create a blasphemy law by the back door. There is increased hatred and increased violence against mosques and Muslim communities. We've seen that. The things that we do have in this country is a definition of anti-Semitism, which has helped us to try and eradicate the violence and the discrimination against the Jewish community in this country. So we looked at whether creating a definition of Islamophobia would be as helpful as having a definition of anti-Semitism. We concluded that a definition was not the right way to go.
So I am now joined to discuss some of those points and more by actuary and software engineer Patrick Lee. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Patrick, let's kick off with the question I think everybody here wants to know the answer to. What's an actuary?
An actuary is, and I'll be very glad I'm the first time on live TV. The Institute and Faculty have been wanting to be on live TV for years. I'll say an actuary is a professional who looks into risk and management of long-term liabilities, so keeping things like...
No! People are switching off! I wish I should never have asked that. So, Patrick, let's get to the real reason that you're here. This case, I would argue, is a landmark decision along the lines of Maya Forstadter's case, where she took her employers to court to be able to prove that, in her case, that believing in gender-critical ideas are worthy of respect in a society. This is similar, but it's about criticising the religion of Islam. So what Barry Gardiner was talking about in that clip was Islamophobia. The dangers of that, of course, are mixing up criticism of an ideology with the hatred towards people who follow that ideology, right?
Absolutely. And I did not criticise individual Muslims, except there was one case of a Muslim who said that beating his wife was OK, providing you didn't hit the face. My criticisms were about the doctrines, primarily about the Islamic texts, these texts which are given official status, which ISIS and others can use to justify all sorts of things like not just wife beating, but sexual slavery, child marriage, killing infidels, you name it. All the sort of crimes that ISIS have done can be justified by these texts, and those texts are what I criticised.
So you wrote these texts, they weren't texts. Now, some people out there might agree with you, some people might not agree with you, but the point is we live in a liberal democracy where we should be able to criticise ideas. And Islam, like all religions, is a set of ideas. So what happened after you posted these tweets then? Because this has been going on for about 4 years now?
Yes, well, they brought a case in September 2025, and actually they acted... I think that what these woke organisations do is they actually do the dirty work of the Islamists. No Muslim had complained on their own bat to make a complaint just in case someone was offended, and then MEND, an offshoot of the Muslim Council of Britain, did do a complaint a bit later. I think someone had alerted them. But the first thing started with the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries themselves bringing...
And that was about 4 years ago, though?
That was 5 years ago, September 2020. And then the case, eventually, I was found guilty on 42 tweets out of 83. So it was 42-41, so it's like a football draw. But because the Institute and Faculty were narrowly in front, I was deemed to have lost that. And they awarded me... I had to pay costs of £23,000, and they banned me from the organisation for 2 years and gave me a reprimand. Now, this has nothing to do with my work. I think they interfered in my right as a private citizen to take part in political debate. And I think if professionals are not allowed to take part in political debate about important social and political matters, then democracy suffers. So, you know...
Well, you're on the right TV show.
Yeah, free speech nation. And I think in the same way that the BBC are accused of interfering in an American election and accused of indoctrinating people, I think the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries and other regulators like that who do this woke diversity, equity, inclusion, they prevent professionals from taking part in debate on... They don't want certain inconvenient truths to be mentioned.
Well, surely, like, works bodies, their concern should be about the standard of your work. It shouldn't have to do anything to do with your opinions as such. But certainly this fear of criticising Islam and the fact that they kind of seem to kind of go for you even without any initial complaints there, that's the fear that then just shuts people down, right, from being able to discuss these points.
Absolutely. I think they perhaps felt they'd make an example of me to shut down anyone else. And I know there are, I think with mention of gender-critical women, that, my for-starter case, I know there are women who are members of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries who are frightened of saying what they think in case a case is brought against them by the Institute and Faculty. So this has a chilling effect, which is my barrister John Holbrook has mentioned in the case. He's been a tower of strength throughout this. I wouldn't be able to get here without his help. These institutions have a chilling effect on democracy, and I think it's very serious. And we're realising now that we live in a free nation, but the debate is distorted by this kind of fear that's an intimidation.
Because you would assume that the ability to criticise any religion, it was laid down in law, but it seems like it hasn't been. So that's when I read about your case. That seemed such a seminal moment because this laid out that you can criticise Islam and that is a protected belief. That's legitimate to do so. Just as if you had criticised, I'm Jewish, but if you wanted to say Moses, you know, was a schmuck, whatever, anything harder than that.
Yes.
But the point is that you should be able, of course, to criticise an ideology. But I think that the problem is that maybe we assume that that's in law okay, but until it gets tested in a court, we're not really secure within what we actually can say. Do you think that your case has now solidified that point?
I think it's helped a long way. It's not quite as powerful as the for-starter judgment, which was in the Employment Appeal Tribunal, which is binding on what's called the first instance, the first level of employment tribunals. Mine's the first instance, so it's not quite binding, but nevertheless people will look at it, and other cases will look to what Judge Khan has said, and he's hopefully set out that various strands of my Islam critical belief are protected. So I think it's very important, but it's not quite the full story yet.
But this can be used
absolutely
in future court cases.
And I think it'll have sent shockwaves through organisations, woke organisations like the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, who felt that they claim to act in the public interest. It's a bit like the BBC. They say they're acting in the public interest. I'm not sure the public would agree with them that hiding inconvenient truths is in the public interest.
Well, exactly. I mean, look, it's what you consider an inconvenient truth. It's what other people would argue against it. But the point is we should be able to at least debate that, to shut that down and to sort of say that one set of beliefs is sacrosanct. That's where there's a real danger to our society. Do you think that, I mean, this is sort of would be a self-aggrandising statement for you, but do you think that this is as important as I believe it to be in terms of our future, what is allowed now for us to talk about?
I'm told by others that it can be. It is certainly a very important precedent that could be as important as the for-starter one for gender-critical rights. This now enables people to feel a lot freer about criticising Islam. I mean, how far you're allowed to go, that's the kind of thing that's going to be debated in or decided by a judge in February in the final round of the Employment Tribunal. But, you know, I think certainly you can say things like, well, these texts say that Muhammad had a wife who was 6 and he consummated the marriage when she's 9. You can say that. Whether you can say, as I said, that all these texts mean that Muhammad was a monster, that is the sort of debate we're going to be having.
And surely anybody who has faith in their belief system, you know, there are going to be Islamic scholars who will come along and they should be able to debate you on that point and point out the finer parts or whatever it is. But that's the whole point, is that an ideology gets its strength from debate rather than just outright faith if you say that, then you deserve these terrible things. And obviously, if you'd said those words in other parts of the world, you would be murdered.
Absolutely,
frankly.
yes.
And that's why this country is great, because we're a Western liberal democracy where you should be able to say it. Doesn't mean you have to go around the world, country screaming this stuff from the top of your head, but we have to be able to debate it, surely.
Absolutely, and there's a place for debating, and I wouldn't go and do that inside a mosque. I wouldn't go and do it outside a mosque. But I think if you're debating in discussion on Twitter or here in a studio, I think we should be allowed, as civilised people, to... I mean, bad ideas crowd out good ideas, but if you can't actually get the two competing together, the good ideas can't overcome the bad. That's what the whole point of debate is to expose people to criticism.
Absolutely. Well, look, thank you for bringing that case. Good luck in February. And like I said, I think it's a pivotal moment defending Western liberal democracy. So thank you very much for joining us. Patrick Lee.
Thank you very much.
So here's the comment from the IFOA. Under its Royal Charter, the IFOA has a responsibility to regulate the actuary profession in the public interest. The IFOA's independent disciplinary process operates to ensure that the public has confidence in the work of actuaries and that the reputation of the actuarial profession is safeguarded. We acknowledge the decision of the Employment Tribunal at this preliminary hearing, but are unable to comment further while proceedings remain ongoing. So, I still don't know what actuary means, and the IFOA would argue that they are not doing the dirty work of Islamists, by the way. Next on Free Speech Nation, it is time for our audience questions. Do you think the White House should be offering political asylum to British citizens? See you in 2 minutes.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Free Speech Nation. My comedian guests this evening are Aideen, McQueen and Carey Marx.
Yeah.
Yay, look at them. How are you? I haven't seen you for ages, Aideen.
I know, I've been gallivanting around Ireland, and I was in Edinburgh and I met some lovely people. I want to say hello to Annette, who I met in the street in Dublin, who's a big fan, Free Speech Nation. And Chris, my first autograph, he was waiting in Liverpool and St Helens with an autograph book. Yeah, and then I signed the autograph wrong. We had to do it 3 times.
You don't know how to spell your name?
No, not a clue. And I'm sure it's only a made-up Irish name, which is all gobbledygook. And then I want to say hello to my cousin John, who's watching with his partner Antoine as well.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Well, look, I'd love to say hello to my parents, but they're not watching. They don't care.
So sad.
So sad.
Oh, no.
How are you, mate? You all right?
I'm all right. Yeah, I've been really busy doing amazing and important things. And I'd like to say hello to everyone I've met.
Ever.
Hello, all of you.
He said, by the way, Carey and I live close to each other, and there is a man who watches the channel a lot, and
he hates us.
And he just hates us. And he's like, he's like, those guys from GB News. Anyway, he's very, but then he's very friendly when you talk to him. Anyway, we're going to get some questions from our audience, and our first question is from Stuart.
Is it worth writing a controversial tweet just so you can get a US green card?
Yes. Is it worth writing a controversial tweet just so you can get a US green card? The White House is considering offering political asylum to British citizens prosecuted under thought crime laws. Trump administration officials are assessing cases involving free speech activists, including pro-life and gender-critical campaigners. The move reflects rising US concerns over restrictions on expression in the UK. Stuart, do you fancy moving to America?
I'm a bit old for that now, I think.
Oh, really? OK. Well, do you think it's slightly... Just speaking to Mike, but do you think it's slightly ridiculous that now Americans, like, we can go move there as asylum seekers?
Yes.
OK. Stuart's a man of few words. Aideen, you've got your Irish passport. You probably can move to America anyway, can't you?
No, you can't. Everybody's trying to get a green card in Ireland, but now I can just say the N-word and the T-word and the P-word with impunity on this show.
What's the P-word?
The P-word is paddy.
Oh, OK.
Yeah.
I thought it was potato. You hate that word.
Well, no, I don't find it offensive. I actually shout out to my cousin Paddy, but some American said it to me. She said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry I said the P word." I'm like, do not worry about that. Nobody cares. So it does seem a bit ridiculous, doesn't it? Although it might be a good thing. I fancy going over to America for a bit. Maybe I'll get better gigs. Could be on Fox News.
This is it. I mean, what do you think?
Funny times.
I'm not quite hot enough to be on Fox News. I'm barely hot enough to be on GB News.
What are you talking about?
I want to know what I've got to tweet to get over there. That's great. Well, what a great plan. I think
you've got to go to abortion clinics and stand there and not say anything.
Oh no! Apparently, it's anything you've said that's the non-crime hate incidents and so on. People are going to get invited over there, which is great. So the American thing, of course, give us your poor, your huddled masses, your people who've tweeted something that was mildly upsetting, is the new way. And it's odd, isn't it? Because we exported the English language for such a long time, and now we're going to be exporting people who dare to use it. I quite like the idea of going to America, but of course a lot of it is also to do with the non-crime hate incidents, which I think they're being axed now, aren't they? But that was
not axed fully.
Not fully, but I think we're the only country that can invent a punishment for a crime that doesn't exist, but where the paperwork does. That's very British. So yeah.
Cool. Well,
it's all part of this whole thing of America posturing, isn't it? And there's so much propaganda about Britain in America. Like I was listening to Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan said that 80% of London was Muslim. That's not true. It's only 75.
Yeah.
He's being ridiculous.
But you know what, Josh? Also, I wouldn't mind about all this, the hate crimes and speech and so on, is if we were all now saying, hey, there's no hate anymore. It hasn't made a difference at all, has it? It's just going to get everybody angrier.
No, it's just made people more hateful. Yeah.
Yes.
All right,
big patty.
Potato.
All right. Please don't move to America. Our next question is from Mel.
Hi, everyone. Do women like sport?
Yeah,
I love the fact that a woman's asking men whether he likes sport.
How do you know I'm a woman?
Nice
Misgendering.
Nice comeback.
Do some push-ups. Sky Sports has axed its new female-focused TikTok channel, Halo, just 3 days after launch following widespread backlash that it was patronising to women. Critics slammed the channel's pink branding and tone, prompting Sky to admit it didn't get it right and shut the project down. The broadcaster says it remains committed to creating inclusive spaces for sports fans. What do you think about this, Mel? Are you a big sports?
I don't like sport, and especially if men are in women's categories.
Yes, fair enough. But what about just women in women's sports?
Not interested.
What about...
I don't like it.
OK, can I just... Hear me out.
OK.
Women's mud wrestling.
No. I know you like it.
Well, I only like it if men participate. So, what do you think?
I agree with Mel. I mean, I'm not saying women don't like sports, but there's this disproportionate amount of men who prefer sports than women. And then the idea that we should get parity with sports is ridiculous. They're forcing and bludgeoning this parity of male and female sports down our throat. They don't do it with anything else. Like, think about fashion. Can you name any of the male supermodels? Exactly. Right? Where they're not forcing Vogue and Cosmopolitan to have 50% of their fashion page be devoted to men's fashion. You know, it's ridiculous. The only modelling men care about are modelling Hornby trains.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we did try and, reach parity when it came to, men in childbirth. But, we were allowed to... What do you think about this? I mean, did you see it was like they were called? It was like Hey Little Sis. Or...
Yeah, it was called Hey Little Sis. I never saw it, but I read about it. It was pink lettering and so on because women love pink. Yeah. And hunky men. It had all the energy of a divorced dad who lives alone, deciding what girls like. That's what they basically went for. They went. I think. Am I right in saying women do like pink, but they don't like being told they like pink? Is that right?
That's it. Yeah.
Something like that. Like someone deciding for them. So.
I've never seen such a terrible reaction from the audience before.
Yeah.
Just because it was true. It was too true. You couldn't handle it. But yeah, the channel lasted as long as Mayfly. So, and that was it. It's gone.
No, it's gone. OK, yes. R.I.P. To the Halo channel. Sky Sports said, our intention for Halo was to create a space alongside our existing social channels for new, young, female fans. We've listened. We didn't get it right. As a result, we're stopping all activity on this account. We're learning and remain as committed as ever to creating spaces where fans feel included and inspired. Our next question is from Sally. Hey, Sally.
Yes. Do you think that conscription should be for all?
Yes, should conscription be for all? Denmark, they have expanded their conscription to include all 18-year-old women amid rising security fears linked to Russia. Teenagers say they are anxious about being drafted as the country rapidly scales up defence spending and preparedness. Supporters call the change a step towards gender equality, while critics warn it risks escalating military tensions. What do you think, Sally? Do you want to join the army?
I think that,
if you put the...
Sorry.
If you put the gun up to your face.
I think that Israel is the country I think of here. And, of course, in Israel, you could say, well, lots of the women are actually spoken of very highly as the lionesses of Israel. And, the Israelis are very proud of their women soldiers. Of course, you could also say, well, then, but what about the babies? Well, you've got all the Orthodox Jews who are having lots of babies. So, I mean, it's because...
Sally, I've got to disagree. I don't think babies should serve in the army.
But you could say that if you were fighting on the front line, of course, it might be rather difficult being 9 months pregnant or whatever you are.
Are you saying that women have babies?
I most certainly am. But actually, personally, I'm. I mean, you haven't asked me the question, but I think it's fair enough. I think that, if we're going to have conscription, it should be for both. Okay. But with. Yeah, certain caveats.
I mean, Carey, you would much prefer a woman to be in the army rather than you.
I quite liked the babies idea, to be honest. I thought that would be... How cute would that war be?
Yeah. You should watch some Hamas videos. They really beautiful little... They dress up in uniforms, they got the plastic guns...
I like the fact people looking down and clapping. Not my face to be seen, but I agree with you. And very, very good point about the Israel thing, of course, as well. There was that moment during the war when the Israel's female group, the pilots flew one of the missions over Iran, where women aren't even allowed to drive. So there was a hell of an irony going on there. But yeah, I am for conscription for all countries between us and Russia.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And I think women have the right to be blown up as much as men. And I think, it's interesting. It's on the 18th birthday now in Norway, isn't it? So you get a letter from the government saying congratulations for your birthday, and you're going to war, which is a bit of fun. And it's done by a lottery as well, which is one of the most weird lotteries as well. You've won a holiday in Russia. Have a nice time.
Would you be happy to serve in the army?
No, absolutely not. But if we're going to have equality between men and women, we should have conscription for women. Why not? I mean, I think equality should be equality in everything. So not only do we have equal amount of female CEOs, equal amount of female dust women, equal amount of female asbestos removers, and until... Do you know what percentage of women are in prison? It's only 4% of women are prisoners. We should get that 50-50 soon.
Yes.
We don't know how many percentage of that 4% are actually men. Right. Final question for the moment is from Chris.
Hi, Josh.
Hi.
Were there pigs black?
Yeah, well, the Picts Black, a new children's book on the Picts, depicts some ancient Scots as black to promote a message of diversity. Partly taxpayer-funded, the project aims to present updated archaeology in an accessible way. An official at the university wrote in 2023 that it was important to depict the saint as black because depicting St. Augustine as a black man actively decenters whiteness. That's another example of them making a character black who wasn't necessarily. But the Picts, certainly, I haven't seen any evidence that they were.
We've got to decenter this whiteness. It's far too centred. Does anyone know what I'm on about? Oh, I feel so centredly white. It's so weird. They were pale-skinned Northern Europeans.
Well, so, this is Northern Scotland, so they were more pale-skinned than anybody.
Of course, even the Sun didn't want to go there, let alone black people. Why would they want to? This is what happens when you mix archaeology with activism, and it's like mixing yogurt with mustard. It's not a good idea. And you end up with these crazy ideas. But of course, the Picts didn't keep any written record of their history. So now, as far as we're concerned, apparently they were a sort of circular drum group of gay activists. We don't know what they were. We just make things up that make us happy.
Well, this is it. I mean, this is meant to be a history book. I know it's for children. Supposedly it's going to be given out for free to everybody, all school children in Scotland. But it's anti-history. It's just not true.
I mean, you could say that there are Berber roots in some Celtic tribes, and you can see it in the west of Ireland. People are darker, but it's very difficult when you go to Scotland and you go through people for a shortcut just because they're invisible. They're translucent. I've been interned in a refugee camp twice in Scotland just because of how tanned I am. So yeah, it seems very far-fetched, but I'm not against saying maybe St. Augustine was brown or North African. And I think it's nice because when you're to see people who you're in history books, but kind of complete lies like this, I don't think they really need it.
No, exactly.
Can I just...
Oh, someone in the audience is about to get us kicked off air. So, next on Free Speech Nation, campaigners claim the BBC is indoctrinating children with pro-trans content. The broadcaster denies bias, says some young viewers are being targeted with activist messaging. We will see you in 2 minutes.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Not so much sun across parts of Europe, particularly in the west, spells of rain and some strong winds here. We're also expecting some thunderstorms across parts of the Balkans and Greece. We've still got the remnants of Storm Claudia, bringing spells of rain, strong winds to parts of Portugal, Spain and also northern Morocco. Plenty of showers across central parts of the Mediterranean. These showers turning heavy and thundery across parts of the Balkans and areas of Greece. A mix of sunshine and further showers into next week and feeling a little bit cooler than of late as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Into next week, it is going to be feeling much colder, some sunshine as well as some wintry showers, turning cold overnight too with some frost and also some icy stretches. Back to this evening though, and there is a chance we could possibly see some wintry showers, particularly where we see this cold front slowly sinking its way south, but for most, cloud clearing away, leaving plenty of clear skies. So it is going to be turning rather cold once again through the overnight period. A chance we could see quite a widespread frost, particularly across Scotland, northern parts of England and Northern Ireland. Also some patchy frost elsewhere across England and Wales. Possibly some icy stretches, mainly across northwest England, and still some showers skirting around North Sea coasts. To start the day on Monday then, a very cold start across Scotland, a widespread frost, also some showers possible around the far north and east coasts. Northern Ireland and northwest England too should see quite a bright but chilly start to the day. There might be a little bit more cloud across eastern areas, still a chance of some showers here, but elsewhere across England and Wales, some frost, some ice possible, but hopefully brightening up through the course of the day, allowing some sunshine by the afternoon. Wall-to-wall blue skies for many areas and mostly dry, though we still do have some blustery showers skirting their way across eastern coasts. These could be wintry, mainly across the high ground of Scotland, but even elsewhere we could see some wintriness across the hills. Now it is going to be feeling much chillier, highs reaching around 9 degrees Celsius, but in those brisk northerly winds feeling much chillier. And Tuesday will bring a very unsettled day across Scotland, some quite strong winds, some gales possible, which could lead to some blizzard conditions. Quite a lot of snow affecting Scotland on Tuesday, so definitely one where we could potentially see some Met Office warnings in force. Elsewhere, a mix of showers and also some sunshine, but next week it's certainly going to be feeling much colder.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. At the beginning of the show, our guest made remarks regarding religion. We'd like to apologise for the language used and for any offence it may have caused. The BBC is facing fresh accusations of indoctrinating children with a pro-trans agenda. Some say shows like Waterloo Road and I Am Leo present activist viewpoints on gender issues without challenge. A whistleblower dossier revealed the broadcaster dismissed concerns despite campaigners warning content could mislead young viewers. The BBC says all programmes comply with editorial guidelines and are age appropriate. They have also admitted that their coverage on trans is not always been right. Well, I am joined now by the External Affairs Officer for the Free Speech Union, Connie Shaw. Connie. Welcome, Connie. The BBC have admitted that they've got it wrong, but this report that compiles these shows for children, that actually came out like a year ago. It was shown to the BBC bosses about a year ago, and they kind of dismissed it.
Yeah, well, of course, some of the bosses are now saying that they know that they haven't always got things right, but obviously they're only saying this now because of the dossier that's been released. And of course, the Trump side of this story is dominating the agenda for understandable reasons. But when people say, oh, this is just the right wing trying to get rid of a British establishment, there are very serious and scary concerns about the way that trans has been covered, and it's absolutely true that the BBC has been completely biased on this issue. And I think what's most scary about this is that we're told that the BBC is impartial, and for a lot of people, the BBC will be they'll only listen to the BBC because it's impartial, or so they think. And I think that's what's so concerning about this issue, is that if you're told something is impartial, and of course you trust the BBC, then if you're being lied to, you don't know that you're being lied to. And in lots of cases, the BBC has lied about the sex and identity of, for example, male sex offenders or murderers. There have been routine examples of that. The fact that they also didn't cover the WPATH files, the organisation that has the biggest influencer of transgender medicine across the world, when those files came out and basically the people at WPATH admitting that they didn't really know what they were doing.
Arguably the biggest medical scandal of our time.
Of course, directly affecting children, and all those things you listed at the beginning. If anyone who watches these things, and it's so clear that it is driven by activists. People like Kath Lang explains, she was at the BBC and she felt like she was basically forced out because of her gender-critical views. She would give gender-critical stories or stories covering the gender-critical perspective to the LGBT and identity desk where those stories were covered, and they were refused. And so, therefore, they were never covered. When we talk about the BBC being impartial, it's not just about covering individual stories impartially. It's about also covering different balanced stories. If you're going to do a load of stories about drag queens, you should probably also do a load of stories about women who are being harassed in their own single-sex spaces. So it is concerning, and I am also concerned that there is a bit of denial still going on at the BBC. The other evening, Stephen Nolan was talking, when GB News' interview of Trump came out, we were talking about whether the BBC had been captured. And he said for a fact that he knows the BBC is not captured. Now, Stephen Nolan actually did a really extraordinary and brilliant documentary on Stonewall, and he investigated the way that Stonewall had influenced public bodies, including the BBC. So it makes me wonder, why would you feel the need to do that investigation?
He's also talked in the past, though, about how hard it was to get that documentary out there and how it had little support from the BBC.
So why would you do that investigation if there was no capture? Why would you face backlash, which he said internally at the BBC he faced backlash, but then also claim that for a fact the BBC is impartial? It seems to be that there's a lot of denial going on. I mean, one thing that I know lots of terrorists will remember when Helen Joyce said that when she first started researching trans and she told her friend what she was discovering, and her friend said, but if this was true, the BBC would be covering it and everyone would know. But that's what I mean about sort of not just reporting impartially on individual stories, but actually reporting on different sides of the stories, like the WPATH files, which the BBC completely ignored.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just BBC News, because this article, this report that initially came out, also talks about how it's wider and it moves into the entertainment section. And then because gender ideology, arguably, there are so many harms towards it in terms of medicalising of children, then to sort of sell this ideology uncritically in an entertainment show or in a children's show, that is particularly dangerous, surely.
And it's not just entertainment, it's websites like BBC Bitesize, which many schools understandably rely on sometimes to help the curriculum and aid their teaching. I used BBC Bitesize a lot when I was at school, though I don't remember coming across trans content, but I've always trusted the BBC. I remember where I was when January 6th was happening in America, and I most likely would have been watching the BBC. It never would have occurred to me that the other major example, that the video that I was watching of Trump's speech wasn't an accurate description or depiction of what he'd said at all. So the idea that we're not just using it in entertainment material, which when it's a dark thought, but obviously in totalitarian regimes, entertainment is used to sort of spread certain messages, and it is true.
I just want to say that they would argue that they're spreading, trying to sort of teach people about a marginalised community. But what they never did was do a story about someone like Kira Bell, as far as I know, or like someone detransitioning, someone who's been through this medical process and come out the other end and showing the dangers of this ideology.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the aspects of this that makes it undeniable that there isn't a capture at the BBC is that in 2018 there was a Stonewall and a BBC report that was published with Stonewall, and basically the findings and recommendations were that stories about LGBT communities should be empowering people, and the report specifically said how staff members had raised concern that balanced debates on this topic did not align with the inclusive policies of the BBC. So clearly there was an internal feeling that having a balanced debate therefore wasn't inclusive, and that's exactly what we all now understand the word inclusive to mean. It actually means excluding anyone who does not share the same beliefs. And in terms of whether anything is going to change, my concern is that firstly it's probably mainly young people who are influencing this, especially according to Kath Leng's memory of her account of what happened at the BBC. But the young people who are coming up through universities have been so indoctrinated into this that by the time they are at the point where they're going to work at the BBC or other journalist outlets, it's going to be quite hard to find young people who are able to critically think about these things. And so in terms of whether they're going to be able to find the people and completely unroot this rot in the BBC, that's going to be, you know, we're going to just have to wait and see whether that's going to happen.
Well, fortunately, we've got you at GB News. So a spokesman or person or woman or they, them for the BBC said, "We take our responsibility to our young audience extremely seriously and have already expressed the concerns directly with transgender trend. Our number one priority is to ensure that every piece of content we create for them is age-appropriate, safe and reflective of their lives and experiences. The BBC is required to represent a broad range of views and perspectives across our output that adheres to our editorial guidelines and Ofcom standards." Next on Free Speech Nation, is woke advertising coming to an end? Founder and CEO of Uncommon Sense joins me next, but a big round of applause as we go to break. Connie Shaw!
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here. GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Free Free Speech Nation. Comedian Ricky Gervais has sparked controversy with a series of rejected tube adverts mocking London's crime under Mayor Sadiq Khan. His mock slogans included warnings like, "Welcome to London, don't forget your stab vest." Transport for London says the ads were never approved, but Gervais accused decision-makers of censorship and launched a profanity-laced online campaign, even offering fans free vodka. The stunt taps into growing public frustration as London saw over 80,000 mobile phone thefts in 2024 alone. I'm now joined by the founder and CEO of Uncommon Sense, Lee Taylor. Welcome to the show. So, my understanding now is there is an advert for this vodka online. It is funny. I think it says, welcome to London.
Make sure you hold your phone.
Make sure phone. So that's funny. So he gets it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, look, arguably, this is all a little bit of a stunt, as well as raising concerns of TfL's policies towards who they choose to have, because they've had some kind of outrageous. I remember there was kind of arguably an Islamist advert of a guy kind of doing this one finger, which means like one god, and burning dollars, but then it's like a jokey ad is being banned.
It is, yeah, and I mean Ricky Gervais he's got his finger on the pulse when it comes to the cultural sensitivities and the culture of the UK, and maybe it was a bit tongue-in-cheek, and maybe it was a little bit of a publicity stunt to get this ad up, but he's got them up now, and I think they're great. I think they're really good. He seems to be. There's not many people, though, doing good ads at the moment. We'll talk about maybe John Lewis, but there's not many people doing good ads at the moment. And Ricky Gervais finally does something good, and then it doesn't go up. But he's got some up now, which is good to see.
I mean, we always talk about our institutions, and we should be proud of them in the UK. But arguably, our advertising industry was one of the greatest and most innovative in the world. And that has definitely gone. They were almost like works of art.
They were, and I think a great professor once said, in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. And the advertising world are just petrified of offending anybody. So they do banal, boring adverts which aren't going to offend the most sensitive blue-haired exec in their department. And so that's the problem, is they're just not doing anything that's good because they're scared of offending people. And then when one guy comes along, Ricky Gervais comes along to try and do something that's good, the authorities say, no, you can't say that.
Well, the example that you just mentioned, the John Lewis ad, I think many people have seen. Have you guys seen it now? Yeah. I think it's a really wonderful advert.
It's great. It's traditional family. There seems to be traditional sex roles. The father and son do a really good job of showing that awkwardness of emotion between father and son. But actually, I think it's deeper than that. I think it shows the dad growing up. It shows the dad putting down his hedonistic lifestyle and maybe stopping hanging around with some dopey friends and gratifying impulsive desires and growing up. And he grew up to burden himself with responsibility, and in the form of his son. And the actors actually do a really nice job of just showing that, look, that was good, but what I've got now, what I went through with you and the family, is so much better. And I think that actually an ad that deep that's done like that, you know, fair play to them. Yeah, we're back in the game.
Well, I showed it to my 16-year-old son, and was like, afterwards, I was like,
yeah.
And he was like, nah. But, you know, you could buy me something from John Lewis. So I guess the job done is there. Do you think that that there are people within advertising who are listening, that we might return to that former greatness of advertising glory in this country?
I hope so, but my hopes aren't high. We talked about the BBC last week. The whole of the advertising world is just as captured as the BBC. You have people in there, specifically creative people, who are like, they're on board with the whole woke agenda. They're on board, they're pushing it. You can see they're pushing the whole climate hoax. They're pushing diverse...
Well, some people think that it's climate real... I mean, I just have to point that out. Let me do my job.
You do your bit. Go on, do your bit. In my opinion, some brands are pushing the climate hoax to try and sell products or scare them into selling products. And you
wrote a piece about Oatly.
I did, yeah. So Oatly, the CEO actually came out and he said, sales haven't been great, their profit forecasts haven't been great, and he thinks it's down to the doom and gloom adverts that they've been putting out over the course of the last however many years.
Which are essentially, the adverts are kind of like, buy our product or we're all going to die.
Pretty much, yeah. or demonising the dairy industry and dairy farmers for CO2 that they're causing.
I think, by the way, I don't know why you said CO2 with I believe CO2 does actually exist.
I believe it exists, but I do not think that it's
H2O
as poisonous as we're told it is. So yeah, they basically said, look, we're going to maybe change our approach to advertising because scaring people into buying our products doesn't work.
Well, the product, very, very quickly, what you said was just make a good product and sell it at a decent price, right?
That's exactly what we do at Uncommon Sense. We don't try and sell you ideas, we try and sell your product or your service at a good price, and we tell you how good the product is, not what it's going to do.
And ironically, that was a very good advert for your company. So, a spokesperson for the Mayor of London said everyone in London should feel safe and be safe. Backed by record funding for City Hall, the police are working around the clock to catch mobile phone thieves with operations to tackle street robbers, as well as the handlers and organised criminal groups driving criminality in our communities. Last month, the Mayor backed the biggest ever Met campaign to tackle mobile phone crime, successfully disrupting an international major criminal network linked to 40% of all phones stolen in London. Now, a TfL spokesperson said advertisements for Dutch Barn that comply with our advertising policy are running on the Transport network. However, a set of different creatives circulated on social media earlier in the year were not referred to TfL or its advertising partners for consideration. That is the end of the first hour on Free Speech Nation. Don't go away, because there's lots more to come between now and 9 o'clock, including the Police Federation of England and Wales is calling for mandatory psychometric testing. See you in 2 minutes. Bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Into next week, it is going to be feeling much colder, some sunshine as well as some wintry showers, turning cold overnight too with some frost and also some icy stretches. Back to this evening though, and there is a chance we could possibly see some wintry showers, particularly where we see this cold front slowly sinking its way south, but for most, cloud clearing away, leaving plenty of clear skies. So it is going to be turning rather cold once again through the overnight period, a chance we could see quite a widespread frost, particularly across Scotland, northern parts of England and Northern Ireland. Also some patchy frost elsewhere across England and Wales, possibly some icy stretches, mainly across northwest England, and still some showers skirting around North Sea coasts. To start the day on Monday then, a very cold start across Scotland, a widespread frost, also some showers possible around the far north and east coasts. Northern Ireland and northwest England too should see quite a bright but chilly start to the day. There might be a little bit more cloud across eastern areas, still a chance of some showers here, but elsewhere across England and Wales, some frost, some ice possible, but hopefully brightening up through the course of the day, allowing some sunshine by the afternoon. Wall-to-wall blue skies for many areas and mostly dry, though we still do have some blustery showers skirting their way across eastern coast. These could be wintry, mainly across the high ground of Scotland, but even elsewhere we could see some wintriness across the hills. Now it is going to be feeling much chillier, highs reaching around 9 degrees Celsius, but in those brisk northerly winds feeling much chillier. And Tuesday will bring a very unsettled day across Scotland, some quite strong winds, some gales possible, which could lead to some blizzard conditions. Quite a lot of snow affecting Scotland on Tuesday, so definitely one where we could potentially see some Met Office warnings in force. Elsewhere, a mix of showers and also some sunshine, but next week it's certainly going to be feeling much colder.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
There's plenty more still to come on Free Speech Nation this week, including, is there a rise of anti-Semitism on campus? And are museums becoming temples of ignorance? First, though, we're going to get the news from Bethany Elsie.
Good evening. Your top stories from the GB Newsroom at 8 o'clock. The Home Secretary is set to announce what she's called the most significant changes to the UK's asylum system in modern history. Shabana Mahmood says the UK is currently seen as a golden ticket to asylum seekers, with housing, financial support and a rapid route to permanent residence. But the plans modelled on the Danish system aim to change that. Those granted asylum will be returned to their home country once it's deemed safe, and they'll also have to wait 20 years before they can settle permanently in the UK. That's quadruple the current wait time. But the Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp says the plans don't go far enough.
Some of the measures, I say some are gimmicks, which won't work. Some of these are little steps in the right direction. For example, reassessing asylum claims for people who've arrived legally every few years. Fine, that's not a bad idea. We'll support that. But on its own, it's not enough. And we would go much further. We would say for illegal immigrants, they should not be able to claim asylum at all. So there won't even be any need to reassess their asylum claim. They won't be getting it in the first place.
Donald Trump says he'll speak to Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer today about his plans to sue the BBC for defamation. The broadcaster has apologised for airing an edited version of a speech he gave on the day of the Capitol Hill riot, calling it an error of judgment and refusing to pay compensation. But the US President told GB News he feels obligated to take legal action to avoid it happening again. He's seeking up to $5 billion in damages. A 20-year-old woman has died while kayaking in the River Tees near Barnard Castle. Emergency services were alerted to reports of a person experiencing difficulty in the water yesterday afternoon. It prompted a major response by police, paramedics, coast guards and search and rescue teams. After 2 hours, her body was recovered. 5 people in their 20s have been killed in what police are describing as a shocking and devastating crash in County Louth. 3 other people were injured in the incident near Dundalk last night. Ireland's Deputy Premier Simon Harris said a veil of deep sadness had come over the country. Homes and businesses in Monmouth in South Wales have been devastated after Storm Claudia caused severe flooding. A major incident was declared when the River Monnow burst its banks. Emergency services had to rescue dozens of people trapped in their homes. Water levels have since receded and clean-up operations are underway. And dubbed one of the greatest comebacks in Test rugby history, Argentina have beat Scotland at Murrayfield. The Scots dominated the match for the first 56 minutes, but 3 tries into the third quarter got the Pumas back in the game. 2 more tries, the last with just seconds to go before the whistle, saw Argentina take the win. They'll face England at Twickenham next week. You're up to date, more in an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. A former UCL academic has been reported to police over shocking anti-Semitic remarks. An academic speaking at a student event falsely claimed Jews killed a monk in Syria to use his blood in bread, echoing an age-old blood libel. UCL says the person involved is no longer staff, has been banned from campus and barred the student group hosting the lecture while police investigate. University leaders called the comments heinous and pledged a full inquiry. I'm now joined to discuss this by the journalist Nicole Lampert. Nicole, welcome to the show. Nicole, I think it was on your X feed that I first saw this insane, disgusting clip, and it was just so shocking to see it said so brazenly. If you could just talk us through the clip first.
She's talking as fact. It's one of 5 seminars being organised by one of the Students for Palestine organisations. It's not an official teaching, but it's in a lecture theatre, and she is basically teaching the history of Zionism, and she's gone back to this very ancient blood libel trope, which ended up with lots of Jews being killed in Syria, where it took place, with this idea that Jews use the blood of Christians to bake into their bread. She got the festival wrong. The idea was that it first started in this country, actually, 800 years ago, that Jews used the blood of Christians to use in their Passover, but she started going on about pancakes or something. So it was completely ahistorical
Easter,
madness.
Easter pancakes.
Yeah, it was just it didn't really make sense. She was kind of teaching it as if it was fact, when it's a blood libel, and it led to lots of anti-Semitism in the Middle East. But that's not how she was teaching it. And so I posted it, and actually within a few hours, UCL had got in touch with me. They wanted to be put in touch with the people that had first put it out. And I have to say that their statement was excellent. They reported her to the police, and they've banned her from campus. But the problem is that we've had 2 years of this. We've had 2 years of...
And who knows what else has been said that hasn't been filmed that we don't know about.
Exactly. And it was only recorded because a Jewish student went in there incognito and recorded the whole thing. And I've listened to the whole thing, and it goes on about Jews and banks, and then it goes on about Jews owning the entire publishing world, which will certainly be a surprise to lots of Jewish writers who are struggling to get any sort of book deals because they are Jewish.
Jewish comedians.
And Jewish comedians who are being cancelled, and Jewish actors, the Jewish arts community, basically. So we have that going on. And
I'm confused, Nicole, because this course was about Zionism. What's that got to do with Jews? Well, that was a rhtorical question.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about Zionism, so to most Jewish people, Zionism is simply the idea of a Jewish state in the ancestral Jewish homeland. Israel exists, so if you're anti-Zionist, now what you're calling for is the destruction of one state only, and that is Israel. But what we're seeing with the anti-Zionist movement is that it's becoming a movement, firstly, that is anti-Semitic and uses ancient anti-Semitic tropes like this one.
Well, it started as an anti-Semitic movement. It started in Russia, where it was propaganda, where they were trying to destroy Israel, and they started all of this.
Exactly. And it was used against Jews that lived in Russia, even communist Jews. It was used to say that you're an enemy of our state. So it has been used in that way. But also what we're seeing is that it has this second position, which is it disrupts societies. So anti-Semitism is often the forebringer. Like, if there's anti-Semitism in a society, it means there's something wrong with that society. The whole idea of Jews being the canary in the coal mine. And what we're seeing is that anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism is kind of running riot, and it's being used as a way to attack the West and Western values. So because the West haven't turned their back on Israel or aren't attempting to destroy Israel or still having trade with Israel, then it's being used to attack Britain, Britain is being called a kind of genocide enabler. There is, of course, no genocide. And they're trying to destroy not only Israel's weapons manufacturers, but British ones too. So part of what we're seeing with this movement, particularly in universities, is an anti-Western movement under the guise of anti-Zionism.
Yeah, and anti-Zionism being a form of racism if it's a subset of anti-Semitism. Now, some people go, oh, well, anti-Zionism just means you're criticising the Israeli government. Obviously, it's absolutely fine to criticise the Israeli government.
And no one does it more than Jews.
No, we're very good at that. So this is just one example this week. Then there was this other example of, I think, the rector of University of Glasgow putting out a very sort of similar blood libel.
Yeah, so he said on, I think it was Arabic, some sort of Arabic TV, so it wasn't in English.
I think it's Al Jazeera, maybe.
OK, so he's...
Just taking a guess.
He started talking about how Palestinian bodies had been returned with with their organs taken, and this is a different kind of blood libel about the idea that Israelis take the organs from Palestinians and harvest them, and this follows Israelis everywhere. It was also whenever Israel goes to help in disasters, and they do, because obviously they are well versed in disasters.
Jamaica, there was a few weeks ago that the same blood libel was out there.
Exactly. So it keeps coming back, and it originates from the 1990s, where Israel, along with other countries, including Britain, they had hospitals that were experimenting on organs without permission. And they were doing it on Israelis and Palestinians. So there is truth. There's an original truth in it, just as it happened in this country at Al Dahay Hospital, for example. But in both cases, it stopped. But
it was discovered and they stopped it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what happened is that now follows Israel around the world, and it continues. So every time Israel turns up somewhere, people talk about this is yet another of the libels. So you kill babies, you harvest organs, like all the worst things that man can possibly do to man is attached onto Israel, the Jew of the Jew among nations. Just as it was originally attached to Jews, now it's on the Jewish nation.
And we can see the real-world ramifications of that. You saw 2 Jews being stabbed and murdered in Manchester, and the man who did it was shouting, "You kill children." Yeah. And that's coming from 2 years of just outright propaganda, Hamas propaganda, spread by our broadcasters. This is examples within our universities. The danger, I imagine, is that these students will then go into, some of them into government and various other positions of authority with this Jew hate that they've been taught.
Yeah, they're literally being taught it now, and that's frightening. And it's been a kind of slow burn, and even that it was kind of even there when I was at university 30 years ago. And so now the people that were learning it when I was there are the ones teaching it. And what we saw after October 7 was lots of university lecturers actually celebrating, and nothing happened with them. And I've spoken to lots of students over the last 2 years, and teachers will bring it up in every sort of lecture, from dentistry to geography to politics, that somehow the idea of this genocide, the evil of Israel, is brought into all of these different subjects. And so you've got British university students learning anti-Semitism at university, And then you've got foreign students who may have grown up in anti-Semitic societies who are it's being reinforced for them, and there's no one fighting back at it. So I have to say, with UCL, what was good to see was that they have finally realised how dangerous it is for their university and are saying no. And that's what we all have to do. I think that we have to... This is a kind of bullying, really. It's fundamentalist bullying, and it's seeing how far our society will take an attack on a small minority. And it's time to say no. It's time for them all to say no, stop this.
Absolutely. But some people, of course, would also argue that we need freedom within education. We're just coming off the back of censorship within our universities in terms of gender-critical academics who have been hounded out of their jobs.
Yeah.
Some people, I imagine, would argue that this is just hounding out people for unfair, like we went back to, criticism of Israel. But there is a differentiation here between that, where you're actually saying that, you know, Jews kill non-Jews to get blood in our brain.
Exactly. So if you're teaching anti-Semitic facts as facts, then that's bad practice. You're bringing the university into disrepute. The university has a responsibility to look after its students. So there is all of that too. But yeah, of course, there should be free speech on universities, and I think that's one reason why they have held back a lot on this. But I think they can see that it's dangerous and it's radicalising.
Well, that's it. Can it be countered? Because so many of the protesters that we see out on our streets are young people, a lot of them from universities. We saw, of course, in America, particularly just these insane protests calling for the death of Jews. Coming from students and these encampments outside. Can anything be done to actually impact this?
Well, I think the important thing to know is that it's not just the students, it's their lecturers too. And that's where it becomes dangerous. So I think that there has to be free speech in academia. What I noticed is, so on October 7, on the anniversary, quite a few universities, there were kind of celebrations of the October 7 massacre. And it was interesting to see how the different universities dealt with this. So at Leeds, where I went to, they were surrounded by the police and they were only allowed in a small area. In Edinburgh, they were allowed to march, they were allowed to block the doors of the library, which was very intimidating for both Jewish students and academics, and anyone basically who's against the kind of this bullying behaviour. So there should be free speech, but there are ways that it can be allowed, and whether it's given free rein, as it was in Edinburgh, for example, or basically saying, OK, you have your free speech, but you do it here and you don't upset people. Perhaps that's a way forward of allowing both of these viewpoints to take place.
What's obviously apparent is that today, right here, right now, there is a problem within our universities, and unless it's dealt with, that problem is going to affect, frankly, the entire country, not just the Jewish community. Thank you very much for joining us. The journalist, Nicole Lampert. UCL President and Provost Dr. Michael Spence has said, "I am utterly appalled by these heinous anti-Semitic comments. Anti-Semitism has absolutely no place in our university, and I want to express my unequivocal apology to all Jewish students, staff, alumni, and the wider community that these words were uttered at UCL. The individual responsible is a former fixed-term researcher at UCL, but not a current member of UCL staff. We have reported this incident to the police and have banned her from campus. We've launched a full investigation into how this happened." Next on Free Speech Nation, it is time for some more audience questions. See you in 2 minutes.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. We can get some more questions from our audience, and our first question is from David.
Can men no longer win medals for punching women in the face?
What? You said that very aggressively, David.
Boo!
For punching women in the face, the International Olympic Committee is considering a ban on transgender athletes from all women's events, following a scientific review suggesting permanent physical advantages for those born male. Who knew? Current IOC rules allow individual sports to set their own policies, resulting in varied approaches across disciplines. The decision expected next year may also affect athletes with differences of sex development amid ongoing legal and ethical debates. I go to you. I'm going to a woman now to have her opinion.
Thank you very much for the honour of that, Josh.
Yeah.
It's great. So basically, I don't agree with trans people being in the sport of their chosen gender. Like, we all would love to be doing everything we wanted all the time. Like, I'd love to be modelling, but, you know, I just can't make the grade. Carey, this is where you're meant to say no.
Oh, yeah.
Practice this.
Sorry. Yeah, of course you could, obviously.
So we can't get to do what we want all the time, and I'm afraid trans women can't be in women's boxing, and that's it.
And trans men can't be. The point is, it
trans
doesn't
men
ban...
aren't good enough to be in trans men's sports,
well,
are they?
I don't think
so.
But the point is, this doesn't ban trans people from sport. It just puts them in the correct sex category.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the fact that the IOC had to go away, spend all this money doing scientific research and go, oh, I think men have a physical advantage, actually.
Yes, yeah, they finally realised there's a reason why half the planet are better at opening jars. But it's taken a lot of work to get there, and they needed a scientist to say that people who are taller, stronger and faster might have an advantage. But they finally got there, and I think it's been a weird time. I think it's been this delusion of the last 10 years. If we clap hard enough, then sex differences will just disappear. But the only thing that actually disappeared was women's places on podiums. So I think it's been... for people creatures in space have been looking at us thinking that the whole planet's suffering a head injury. But I think we're coming out of it now, slowly. Maybe. Are we?
No, I mean, I hope so. And now, hopefully, this is... I mean, there are still sports bodies out there that haven't, across the world, who are still pushing this ideology. But hopefully, with the Olympics... That's kind of like the BBC of sport, isn't it? You would hope then they would get it right.
Yeah, well, like you said earlier, I'm just not interested in sports, so, you know, let's move on.
Yeah, I don't care either.
A lot of women who have been fighting for the last 10 years for fair sport. So the IOC spokesperson said an update was given by the IOC's Director of Health, Medicine and Science to the IOC members during the IOC, they love saying IOC, Commission meetings. The working group is continuing its discussions on this topic and no decisions have yet been taken. Further information will be provided in due course. Our next question is from Hilla.
Can babies be terrorists?
Can babies be terrorists? Over 100 babies and toddlers have been referred to the UK government's Prevent Anti-Extremism programme, mostly over Islamist concerns. Many cases involved very young children exposed indirectly through parents or siblings, with some referrals later found to be misunderstandings. Critics warn the scheme is increasingly targeting children who cannot understand extremist ideologies, raising questions about its effectiveness and fairness. A Freedom of Information request submitted by the Hyphen to the Home Office revealed that children aged between 2 and 5 were referred a further 500 times between 2016-17 to 2023-24. Nearly half of the Prevent referrals for children under the age of 10 during this period were for Islamist concerns, with the figure jumping to 70% for under 3-year-olds. So this is... some of the examples are comical. I mean, I know this is serious stuff, but a few of the examples were, I think he said cooked or something, and they had a knife and they thought it was a bomb or something. It was ridiculous misunderstandings. But I'm assuming that there are some real cases of children, unfortunately, being radicalised by their parents.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there are. Like, I myself, I'm pregnant by Carey and I'm going to have a kneecap baby just to piss him off. I'm going to teach my baby about the IRA and stuff, and he's going to be really angry.
I'll be proud.
You'll be proud. And God, that didn't get laughed at all.
Yeah.
Britain's really concerned now.
They thought it was all genuine.
Will the baby have a little sort of...
A little balaclava and all of that jazz would be really cute. But I think it's great because when people say... I mean, now we have a list of all these kids, and when people say what would they do if they had a time machine, people always say, oh, I'd go back in time and I'd kill baby Hitler. Well, now we have a little chance now, don't we? we can change
yeah, except this one, he
future.
actually just had a bit of chocolate. It wasn't really moustache at all.
What do you think about this? I mean...
What do I think? I think babies are evil, and I think we should arrest all of them immediately. They are the worst kind of immigrants.
Yeah.
They come into this country through tunnels.
Kicking and screaming.
They don't learn the language. Gagagoodle. It takes them 18 years just to learn to do a basic job. 18 years. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They're rubbish. There was, I think the one you were referring to was it was a 4-year-old who was they called the police because the baby said cucumber, but they thought the baby was saying cooker bomb, and then they realised later on it was cucumber, and they dropped the whole thing. But the part that's not in the story is that later that day the baby went out and killed a load of people with a cucumber. So they should have been listening. It was a big mistake.
Well, you know, the word infantry comes from the word infant.
That's the applause moment. That's the applause moment.
You're going to
That's
make a great mother.
Take a break.
Contacted the Home Office and are awaiting a response. Our next question is from Jeff.
Is it...
Oh, we're just going to get the mic from Jeff, sorry.
Sorry. Is it intolerant to ban mentally unstable people from joining the police force?
Is it intolerant to ban mentally unstable people from being police officers? Yeah. The Police Federation of England and Wales is calling for mandatory psychometric testing for all new recruits to ensure they have the resilience and character needed for policing. High stress, long hours and early resignations suggest many recruits struggle with the demands of the job. The union argues tougher recruitment standards would improve retention, stability and public trust in the police. Carey, does that mean that we just got a bunch of mental police officers?
Mental in a good way, you mean, or just...
I don't know. I mean, the fact that we don't sort of provide any psychological testing for our police already is...
I think they've been desperate to recruit, and the problem is that a lot of them haven't been passing the bravery test, the strength test, the reading test, intelligence test, IQ test. I don't think they give them an IQ. If they give them an IQ test, all we'll have left is the police dogs. I don't... No, sorry. I think the police do a great job, and it's a round of applause for the police. Right, now let's make fun of them. Now, the fact that many of them will call for backup when you just say the word boo is a bit of a problem, and I think other police are beginning to realise that, yes.
Well, it's not just that, it's a recruitment, isn't it? So people are joining it and then going, oh, this is quite tough.
it's interesting that this has come from the officers. So obviously there's older officers that have all this new Gen Z police officers that they're working with, and the Gen Z police officers like, oh my God, I'm just having a bit of a dodgy mental health day. I don't really feel safe, you know, I don't really feel safe. And that baton, it's quite phallic symbol shaped. You know, I'm triggered by it, you know. So I think maybe that's what it is, because it is coming from the officers. So maybe the new generation of snowflake officers aren't able to cope with the old school, the Sweeney type characters before them.
It's why they're arresting babies.
That is, yeah, they're a soft touch.
They're like, we can handle this one.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, you're so cute. You're nicked. A spokesman for the Police Federation of England and Wales said record numbers of experienced officers are leaving each year. The pressure to fill those gaps risks lowering entry standards, meaning people entering policing who should not be there because of temperament or behaviour. Making psychometric testing a national requirement would raise the bar and push forces to focus on keeping experienced officers. That also means fair pay and proper welfare support in a job that is becoming more dangerous by the day. Our final question is from Sadiq.
Oh, hi, Josh.
Hey.
Is it uncool to have a boyfriend?
Yeah. Is it uncool to have a boyfriend? Let's talk to Aideen. No. A new social media trend portrays having a boyfriend as uncool or politically conservative, encouraging women to present themselves as single. Influencers and publications increasingly celebrate single, child-free lives while downplaying the joys of partnership and family. And this worries some people who say this undermines the traditional relationship and family values, especially amid declining birth rates in the West. Have you seen this online? Supposedly people are like cropping out pictures of their boyfriend just because it's not cool to have a boyfriend.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
yeah, that's because your boyfriend's so ugly.
Yeah, old. I prefer the term distinguished, which means ugly but rich.
And he's married, so
yeah, that's also the key problem why he's none in my pictures, because Nigel doesn't like it. But it's about decentering men, and it's interesting because the left and the right have taken this upon themselves. Because on one hand, you have these people that say men are giving you nothing and it's not worth having a relationship with men. But I do think that it is worth women keeping themselves. And there's nothing worse than those girls who have mentionitis, like my boyfriend, my boyfriend, my boyfriend. Like, there's no men who do that. So I think it's good for women to be conscious that they don't make a man the centre of their earth. I think on both sides in social media, there's women who are complaining about you have to get this out of a man, you have to get that, he has to support you, has to do this amount of the housework. Then you have men and the kind of manosphere who are saying, like, the woman has to bring a lot to the table, she has to be subservient. And both sides are saying to themselves, what can we take out of a relationship? Nobody's mentioning what you can give in a relationship. And I hate to be corny and I hate to be insincere. Sorry. Yeah. But relationship is about giving. The more you give, the more you receive. So we've lost track of that completely.
Now, Aideen, are you going to clip that up and put that on your dating profile?
Don't be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous. Yeah.
I don't know which way we scroll quick. Yeah, I mean, you don't talk about your girlfriend, Carey.
Yes, I think women are cool. I didn't get the same reaction. I didn't want to do a whole speech. I think. Oh, did you? A lot of this is reaction. It's reaction to the Republican trad wife thing. So, and then women in America now saying we don't need that. But it's kind of an odd attitude. It's like we'll show them we're going to die out. We're going to stop having relationships and have babies. Try arguing with us when we don't exist. Which seems like an odd way to go, really. But yeah, I think it's always been around, hasn't it? Wasn't that the Spice Girls and everything? Girl power, we don't need men.
Oh yeah, that was the start of feminism. You went far back to the 90s.
Yeah, that's far back. Not far back far enough.
Next on Free Speech Nation, a leaked email calls a women's rights protest anti-trans, sparking a Whitehall row over civil service impartiality after the Supreme Court's ruling on defining women. See you in 2 minutes.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast. Not so much sun across parts of Europe, particularly in the west, spells of rain and some strong winds here. We're also expecting some thunderstorms across parts of the Balkans and Greece. We've still got the remnants of Storm Claudia, bringing spells of rain, strong winds to parts of Portugal, Spain and also northern Morocco. Plenty of showers across central parts of the Mediterranean. These showers turning heavy and thundery across parts of the Balkans and areas of Greece. A mix of sunshine and further showers into next week, and feeling a little bit cooler than of late as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Into next week, it is going to be feeling much colder, some sunshine as well as some wintry showers, turning cold overnight too with some frost and also some icy stretches. Back to this evening though, and there is a chance we could possibly see some wintry showers, particularly where we see this cold front slowly sinking its way south, but for most, cloud clearing away, leaving plenty of clear skies. So it is going to be turning rather cold once again through the overnight period, a chance we could see quite a widespread frost, particularly across Scotland, northern parts of England and Northern Ireland. Also some patchy frost elsewhere across England and Wales. Possibly some icy stretches, mainly across northwest England, and still some showers skirting around North Sea coasts. To start the day on Monday then, a very cold start across Scotland, a widespread frost, also some showers possible around the far north and east coasts. Northern Ireland and northwest England too should see quite a bright but chilly start to the day. There might be a little bit more cloud across eastern areas, still a chance of some showers here, but elsewhere across England and Wales, some frost, some ice possible, but hopefully brightening up through the course of the day, allowing some sunshine by the afternoon. Wall-to-wall blue skies for many areas and mostly dry, though we still do have some blustery showers skirting their way across eastern coast. These could be wintry, mainly across the high ground of Scotland, but even elsewhere we could see some wintriness across the hills. Now it is going to be feeling much chillier, highs reaching around 9 degrees Celsius, but in those brisk northerly winds feeling much chillier. And Tuesday will bring a very unsettled day across Scotland, some quite strong winds, some gales possible, which could lead to some blizzard conditions. Quite a lot of snow affecting Scotland on Tuesday, so definitely one where we could potentially see some Met Office warnings in force. Elsewhere, a mix of showers and also some sunshine, but next week it's certainly going to be feeling much colder.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
A leaked email shows civil servants were warned that an upcoming women's rights protest was anti-trans. The Cabinet Office reportedly commissioned a third party to send the warning ahead of the 199 days later march, which followed a Supreme Court ruling on defining women by biological sex. Some say the email risks breaching civil service impartiality, while some ministers accuse staff of delaying guidance from the Equality and Human Rights Commission. The Cabinet Office says staff must remain professional at workplace events, even outside work hours. I am now joined by the co-director of For Women Scotland, Susan Smith. Susan, welcome to the show. Big round of applause. Susan, I'm relieved to see that you're free and out of jail from the great umbrella fiasco.
I know, I thought that was going to follow me around for a long time, be in the clink.
This is it. And so for people who aren't familiar, there was a complaint that you'd broken this umbrella and Police Scotland were actually investigating you. But that's now all been dropped, fortunately. Bit mad. Let's talk about what's going on in the totality of the UK. So obviously, the case that you brought to the Supreme Court says that sex means biological sex. Boom. We all thought that meant it was all sorted, that this was just clarifying the law as is for the last 15 years. Yet, the government, there's a few contrary things that have happened. Now, the first is that they have not implemented the EHRC recommendations, right?
Yeah, it feels like Groundhog Day because they're just got back on the same arguments that we were hearing before we took everyone to court and won. And the EHRC has provided this guidance. The minister's sitting on it. Nobody knows when it's going to come out. They're saying they have to go through it line by line and do a lot of equality impact assessments, which is fascinating because, of course, they never did any equality impact assessments when they uncritically adopted Stonewall law back in the day and said that men could go wherever they wanted in women's spaces. Even though, of course, that was very damaging to women, especially in places like prisons and shelters. So it's this sudden conversion to being really meticulous about the law seems a little bit odd, especially when we're now talking about protecting women rather than harming them. But so that guidance hasn't been placed. We're still waiting for it. And we've also got the government in court as an interested party in a judicial review that's been brought by the badly named Good Law Project, which is the brainchild of the Fox murdering tax lawyer.
Yes, by the way, that's correct, I believe, so I don't need to Ofcom correct it. But
he admitted it. He admitted it. I'm not.
Yes, he admitted it. So yeah, this is the other thing. So the government lawyer, went in to argue their case, and suddenly, rather than pushing forward law as we understand it now because of the Supreme Court ruling, the government lawyer was saying now it's on a case-by-case basis and actually arguing stuff that went in the previous argument and the initial ruling. So the question comes, who is advising or telling the government lawyer to take this position?
It's very odd because, as you say, those were the arguments that the Scottish government was putting forward. We were saying that if you talk about women and sex, you have to have a commonly understood read-through and it has to apply across the board. You can't say it means women and then some men and exclude some women. And the Supreme Court was absolutely firm on that. And they said that, the government lawyers should go away and read, if they can't manage to read the whole document, which they should, but I would recommend they read paragraph 213, which says in terms that if you allow some men into these spaces, it makes it impossible to operate single-sex spaces, and it also completely undermines the reason you've got those spaces. And this case-by-case thing was another part of so-called Stonewall law, because if you operate a single-sex space, you have to make an argument as to why you need one. So either it's because you only need a service for one sex or the other, or it's for privacy and dignity. And once you've made that case, that's the case. That's the proportionate means of achieving a legitimate aim, as the legislation says. That's the test for the service. It's not a test for individuals. You can't say, well, this man's quite nice, so he can come into the women's prison. It doesn't work like that. And it's quite extraordinary that the minister who has the ruling now has allowed a government lawyer, to go in and make this completely obsolete argument. And I think the judge has said that it sounds like they're trying to relitigate our case.
Yeah, well, this is it. So, so Keir Starmer, when it was with the ruling, they said, OK, this is what we're going to follow now. This is the law, has been clarified. Yet it just seems that the government, some people would argue that they're kind of like throwing it into the grass and trying to hope it's going to go away. And we need this clarification for the EHRC guidance, because then these institutions that are sort of holding out to gender ideology, that's the excuse they're using, isn't it? So I think in Scotland there are still males in women prisons.
Yeah, and we've said we're going to take the Scottish Government back to court. The court's decided this has to be another judicial review. We thought we'd won this case, this argument, but now the Scottish Government is prepared to go to court to defend putting men in women's prisons. Some of these people have been convicted of horrific crimes, murder and torture and so on. And they're still in the women's prison. From what we've heard, the government apparently seems to think it would be against the human rights of these prisoners, but they don't seem to be considering how this breaches the female prisoners' human rights. And it is extraordinary that we are having to go round and argue every single case and point, because it should be impossible. But we think that as far as the Scottish Government are concerned, they still haven't paid our bill from the last judicial review. So we think they're probably thinking, that we won't have the funds and that they can just wind the clock down, and as long as they're not paying us, then we won't be able to take court action. But I don't know. That's what the cynic in me thinks.
OK, well, look, the fight continues. In the meantime, Susan, please stay away from umbrellas. Thank you very much, Susan. Sorry, Susan Smith. I don't want to say Susan all that. Aideen, Ireland still hasn't clarified in law. Is that my understanding that sex means biological sex?
No, it hasn't. And there are stronger laws, I think, in Ireland protecting trans women's rights than there would be in the UK.
But no one ever seems to clarify what trans women's rights are. Arguably, some people would say trans women's rights is the right to go into a women's space. But do you think that actually the government are just being like super careful, that there isn't some conspiracy that they're trying to delay this?
Listen, it's Britain. There's red tape everywhere, so it'll get there eventually, I think. But like everything, it takes time.
Well, yeah, I mean,
be patient, Josh.
Just be patient. I think a lot of people have been waiting many years for this to be fully clarified. But you know what? You're right. When it comes to red tape, we are world leaders.
Yeah. That red on the flag, that's actually just sticky tape on the Union Jack.
A Cabinet Office spokesperson said, while staff network rules were recently changed to ensure they take place only outside working hours, we expect civil servants to behave professionally at network events. And where necessary, we will remind staff members of that requirement. So, next on Free Speech Nation, museums, once temples of curiosity, are under fire. Some say they are trading in history for ideology, turning exhibits into lessons of guilt rather than wonder. Join us in 2 minutes. Bye.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The Daily Mail are going on a headline, woke guidance to tackle absenteeism, and stop asking pupils questions, it makes them anxious. Now,
of course it makes you anxious.
It's your job.
Yeah, so I mean, I get what they're going, and it's very easy to go with the popular view here. But I think they're not saying all pupils. They're asking to take into account that there may be, in certain sets of the classes, neurodivergent people, autistic, for whom it does make it up. So I do work with children who've been in care, and sometimes I've got people in the room who are autistic, and because I'm energetic and stuff, I've got to be very careful how I approach them. So sometimes, if I'm asking a question, I won't even look.
But Chris, I don't think that you can break up. You can sit and say, well, we've got Dawn, better not ask her that. Chris, I can't ask her this. And whatever. You know, you can't keep differentiating and cutting things up like that. I think you have to relook at what teachers are expected to do.
I think if we're preparing children for the outside world, we have to be tougher with them than we are. Now, you can't wrap them up in cotton wool. The world does not revolve around them. They have to toughen up, sorry.
And you will be asked questions in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. So are you saying then exclude them from the classroom so that you can concentrate on the main body?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. I mean, okay. That might be a solution. Well, so you go back to having schools that cater for.
You see, when people say questions make you anxious. Yes, I was anxious.
Yeah. We all are. I was anxious. I was anxious when I went to the track, and I was a World Class athlete. I was still anxious when you go to the final. Yeah, we get that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Museums, once temples of curiosity, are facing criticism for becoming temples of ignorance. Some say institutions are prioritising activism over history, appointing curators of discomfort to highlight supposed white supremacy in exhibits. Detractors warn that this trend risks twisting history rather than preserving it, leaving visitors with guilt instead of wonder. We are joined now by the documentary maker, Malcolm Clark. Malcolm, welcome. There he is. Welcome to the show. Malcolm, this is concerning for people anybody who's trying to enjoy history, to find out about the past of this country, to find this kind of ideological capture that's taken root.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of started researching it myself when I went to my local giant, gorgeous museum, Kelvin Grove. And I remembered as a kid being taken there and just being full of wonder at all these amazing artifacts, all this art, pharaonic mummies, you name it, it has everything there. Or it did until recently, and then a lot of stuff has been taken out. And the last time I was there was a giant new gallery exploring the impact of slavery on Glasgow. And I have absolutely no problem, I don't think anybody does, in recognising the role of slavery in Glasgow's history. Sugar, tobacco, cotton all played a part in the growth of Glasgow. But I couldn't believe the hypocrisy of the exhibition, because one of the key arguments it made was that artifacts from, say, India had been exhibited in Glasgow, in Kelvin Grove, but the individual craftsmen who'd made these things had not been recognised. And I looked around at this huge building, which has got mosaics and chandeliers and tiles and you name it, and there's no plaque up saying who any of the white working class guys were who built this 19th century structure. And so there is this sort of strange, sort of weird world that we've entered, where the only people that have to be centred in the national conversation, or in this case, the local conversation, have to be people in another country who were colonised 100 years ago. And we don't talk about the achievements of the people who built the galleries, or in the case of the other gallery in Glasgow that I've been to, the Hunterian, which has got the curating discomfort exhibition that you mentioned. It has taken a group of race activists with no background in museums, no backgrounds in history, and they've asked them to go through this vast collection and find things that prove that the collection is white supremacist. The ridiculous thing is they haven't actually been able to find anything, and so they've got all these different bits of the collection which they try to put a spin on. There's a great Scottish inventor called James Young who invented paraffin, the fuel, and so they somehow try to make out that this guy was something to do with climate change, even though he was in 1850, and they say that's destroyed loads of sort of communities across the world. They don't explain in the exhibition that he funded David Livingstone's expeditions to Africa to try and stamp out slavery. So it's this weird determination by these curators to flagellate and do down Britain and Scotland. And I think it's become universal. You can't go to any museum now without being hit on the head by some giant ideological hammer.
And this sort of, it seemed to have come through particularly 2020 kind of post-Black Lives Matter, when every museum suddenly had to have an exhibit or go through curate all of their art exhibits.
I mean, my documentary making background made me curious. And, I made a series called Big Ideas That Changed the World. Gorbachev talked about communism, Jesse Jackson talked about racism. I mean, there were big people. And each hour traced the way that an idea had changed the world and influenced our lives. And so I decided, well, why don't I do that with this story of decolonizing? And it actually, although you're absolutely right, the death of George Floyd was the trigger that led to this wave of sort of COVID-fueled insanity, where everyone said, oh my God, I'm so disgusted by being white. And so that's right, it was the big trigger. But if you trace the roots back, it actually goes all the way back to the ideas of the Marxist Gramsci, who was really big in the 70s and 80s. His work was really only published in the 70s, and it swept through the universities, it swept through our institutions. And he had the idea there were two ways to take over a society. There was the war of maneuver, which was like Lenin attacking the state, and then there was a war of position, which in a sophisticated democracy in the West, like America, France, or the UK, you couldn't hope to confront the state, and nobody wanted you to vote for communism. So what you had to do was you had to percolate through all our institutions, our galleries, our museums, our journalism. And that's what's really been happening.
Well, Malcolm, thank you so much. And maybe one day we'll see an exhibit on today's crazy times. That is documentary maker Malcolm Clark. Both the Museums Association and the Hunterian have publicly framed their work on anti-racism and decolonisation not as erasing history, but as responsibility confronting historical inequities. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great week and see you soon. Bye.